Welcome home. We are WNST, AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We are Baltimore positive. Happy summer to everybody celebrating out there. It is time for crab cakes, beer, orange crushes, whatever you're into. The Maryland Lottery sending us out on the road on Friday. We'll be at Fadley's at Lexington Market. I will have the Back to the Future scratch-offs. I have these most of the summer. We have 16 crab cake tour stops ahead, including next Tuesday. We're going to be in this guy's former homeland of Randallstown. We're going to be at the Y in Randallstown on Liberty Road next Tuesday, talking about some good stuff going on in the community. Juneteenth, pools being open, kids, summer, big kids like myself and Leonard Raskin from Raskin Global joining us here. A long weekend in Sacramento. You know, the baseball stadium nerd in me, Leonard, was thinking like, probably should go see a game in Sacramento. I have friends in Sacramento, and I watch the game on TV all week. It looks like watching Floridian minor league baseball in Northern California, you know, near the Wells Fargo headquarters.
There you go.
And I just, the minor league baseball thing, it can't be lost on me how really absurd it is. How far baseball has sunk to entertain and allow this for 3 years for a franchise that's been dangling for a quarter of a century.
I don't quite understand it myself. I mean, it's not as if they couldn't have stayed in Oakland till the Vegas Stadium was done. I guess Oakland wanted them out.
Oakland was done with them.
Right.
Yeah.
Oakland wanted them out, and the fans certainly weren't going to support them. So I guess they figure we'd rather see 12,000 people fill a minor league stadium than 12,000 people leave a major league stadium empty.
But what happens when you want 13,000 there? Can't have it.
That you can't happen. So as long as the A's aren't great for the next 3 years, it'll be
okay. Or popular.
Well, they are popular.
How dare them be popular?
They're popular. They're just not going to be, maybe they're not going to be great. Maybe they are, in which case they'll have standing room and something until they get to Vegas on the Strip with their magic new stadium right next to the Golden Knights and the Raiders hanging out in Vegas. Who'd have thunk it 20 years ago? I mean, Pete Rose is rolling over in his grave already.
Yeah, but who would have thought we could just make bets from our phone anytime we want? Right? I mean, that was not something that I had on my dance card. Hey, legal cannabis is also something I didn't have on my dance card. Like Trump running the country a second time and shutting down the things that are happening in the world, me having the Orioles and the Ravens take my press credentials and say I'm not a real me. Like, you live long enough, you see things. You see things, you know?
You see everything.
I mean, the Orioles are going to play. I looked at my schedule next week. By the way, Leonard Raskin is here. He's Raskin Global. He handles money, he handles the American Dream. I looked with Luke because we finished our segment. We worked on Sunday night after the Sacramento games. And I looked down. I was trying to look at the schedule. I'm like, all right, Tigers are in this week, Angels this weekend, doing the show Friday. Next week, they're playing at George Steinbrenner Field for 3 days, and then they go to Yankee Stadium. So they're playing in Tampa outside.
Another minor league, another summer, what's that, spring training stadium.
It is nothing but it's an A-ball spring training stadium. It's not even like but it's next to where glory happened for you and I out on the Dale Mabry on January 28, 2001.
Amen.
But
Amen.
It's going to be 98 degrees at game time, thunderstorm. Right. Yeah, whatever happens in Florida, you're going to know why they built the roof in Miami and why they wanted one in Tampa. But they're playing at George Steinbrenner Field and then at Yankee Stadium next week. So,
busy time, Detroit and New York. And I don't know how Tampa's, I guess, playing well, but surely Detroit and New York, they gotta win one of each, maybe two, to prove something. Trouble after the series. But I told you I'm giving them to the end of June. I'm giving them to the end of June to prove what they're going to be. They're going to have their healthy guys back. I'll give them to the end of June. We'll see how they play. And then we can judge whether there's any chance at all that they get back in the wild card race.
Luke has done the math on this. They have to play like 700 ball to be a wild card team. It's going to be like insane. Yeah.
Look, they played 25% ball coming up to now. They can certainly play 75% ball after now.
Well, being a guy that handles money and you knowing about money.
Numbers, it can happen.
Corbin Burns would have certainly sunk this ship since the time we got together last week.
How about Corbin Burns? That's sad, right?
Wow.
Tommy John surgery.
This is where Mike Elias can look to the fan base and say,
told you?
See? Told you.
I don't think you really think they had any clue that he had a bad arm. No way.
I don't think there's any clue anybody. I don't think they had a clue Bradish had a bad arm, right?
It just pops,
yeah.
And that's it. So they can say, yeah, well, he wouldn't have been here, but my goodness, you
Dude,
can't.
if you're throwing
Can't say that.
96 with spin one day and you've been doing it for weeks and months,
It's
and then
got
it
to go.
pops, I don't know
It pops.
where the warning could be,
I don't
you
think there
know?
is any.
The warning is if you throw the ball 96 long enough
It's going to happen.
with your wrist, you're a human. It's going to happen.
It's right that the arm is not made for that. We all know it. Look at
Well,
how many guys
Major League
have it.
Baseball doesn't realize that
Yeah, of
at this
course they
point.
do. They don't care.
They don't care.
Of course
Okay.
they know it. Come
There you
on.
go. Now they don't.
Let's not kid
It's like the
ourselves.
concussion thing in
Right.
football, just to hide the
Concussions.
movie.
We're worried about concussions. No, we're not.
That crazy African doctor up in
We don't
Pittsburgh,
care.
what does he
We
know?
don't care. Nonsense. Come on. If we cared, these sports like that wouldn't exist.
Well, that's why you like tennis, right? That's why you're going to talk about Coco Golf and the French Open, right?
French Open. I love tennis. I played as a kid. I played as a teenager. I loved it. It was great. I enjoy watching it. I don't enjoy watching the whole tournament. I don't have enough time for the whole tournament, but I do enjoy watching the finals of the majors. And
have you ever been to the U.S. Open up to New York or done anything like that?
You know what's crazy? I have not gone to New York to watch the U.S. Open, which I should do.
But Wimbledon's not on your list, or Roland Garros?
I went to Wimbledon.
You went to Wimbledon. Okay.
Yeah, was in France, unfortunately, right after Wimbledon, which was after Roland Garros, so I missed it.
I have attended two of the four majors. I have been to the U.S. Open in New York in 1986.
Yep.
I saw Yvonne Lendl and I saw Boris Becker and I saw Arantxa Sanchez Vicario play in France. Steffi Graf as well. But I saw in France, I saw Andre Agassi. It was the '99.
That's
French
when he still
Open.
Had long hair. When he was
that was the one Agassi caught fire. And so I went to Roland Garros. My hair was bleach blonde, but I have pictures right there at center court with the clay. Going. Absolutely, man. So
it wasn't long then. So you had the Agassi buzz.
I'll tell you this: if you want to go to a nice event, go to a tennis tournament. Tennis tournaments are wonderful. We went
to Wimbledon when we were over in London, and it was magnificent. I've not been to the Open. I should, but I'll tell you what: watching the quality of tennis. Coco Golf, number 2, upsetting number 1 in the finals of the women. And then the men's final was absolute theater. It was, you couldn't script it. Number 1, Sinner. What a name. Number 1. Number 2, our Spaniard friend. And he was down 2-0. The first set, 6-4 against. Second set, lost in a tiebreaker, 7-6. Third set, 6-4. Fourth set, 7-6, tiebreak. And being down 2 sets in a major, you ain't coming back. You got to be put away. And in the fourth set, he had 3 match points against. He was down 40-15 in a game. Came back, won the game, made it to a tiebreak. And now, they used to, Nestor, win by 2 games in the final set. You could play forever. That was the famous Borg McEnroe. You had to win by 2.
Well, it was the Wielander all-nighter, right?
They played forever.
Yeah.
But now they don't. Now the 5th set tiebreak, they just have to go to 10. And man, it was theater tennis. It was
Carlos Alcaraz sinks Jannik Sinner.
Not Alcatraz. He ain't in prison.
I said Alcaraz, did I?
You said Alcatraz, but that's okay.
Did I?
Yeah, it's all right.
Can't swim from there. I've been there in LA,
right.
In San Francisco. Right.
So the 2 beat the 1 in the women's, the 2 beat the 1 in the men's, and our Spanish
By the way,
friend,
Sabalenka crying too. What was that all about?
It was unreal. Well, she won last year. She lost this year to Coco. She got beat.
Complaining about it though, but Coco
emotion.
went. The thing I like is when the winners approach all the ball kids and they do the World Cup celebration.
Yep.
I kind of like that.
I
kind of like that.
They did it. And Alcaraz was just, it was too much. It was theater. It was amazing tennis. The only problem, and this is not a problem with tennis, it was 5 hours and a half of my Sunday. So it took.
Well, you don't miss anything with the Orioles. You don't have to worry about them. The Ravens aren't playing.
Well,
the NBA
Orioles
finals weren't till the night.
The Orioles were on right after the tennis, so it was fine baseball viewing after the tennis viewing. The only unfortunate is they lost to the A's, who had lost, I didn't realize this, 20 of the last 22.
Yeah,
And then took 2 out of 3 against the O's.
Correct. And now the Orioles are back here against Tigers. Leonard Raskin is here. He is Raskin Global. The tennis thing, have you ever played on clay?
I have not.
There's clay courts in West Baltimore that I've played on
like
once.
A chartreuse court that's kind of like that. It's got that slide ability to play. I didn't like it. I did not like playing on that. Stuff's flying up in the air,
Yeah, and everything gets red, and your shoes get all clayed up, and I remember that. Yeah,
but I've played on hard court. I've played on grass, and that's amazing. But
you're not a pickleball.
No, have not done the pickleball.
You're not going to play pickleball.
Not playing pickleball.
I'm not playing pickleball.
Look, let me tell you this. My definition of pickleball, and people can write and call and tell me I'm crazy. Old, slow, fat man tennis. And I am an old, slow, fat man, but I am not going to play pickleball.
You stick to putting and golf, is from what I can understand. Like the pickleball thing,
putting and tennis.
My buddy Tom Cap, one of my partners here at NST, he's got a pickleball thing he's doing out in Carroll County. By the way, I gotta give a promotional plug here in the middle of this segment to Darren, the Sausage King from Di Pasquale Sausage. He used to bring sausage out to NST 25 years ago all the time. I was hankering sausage last week. I got in touch with the family that used to own the primary sausage company here that makes sausages the right way, because that 4-letter word in East Baltimore where they're made, they've changed the recipe. Like, I've been getting those sausages, the ones about, the local ones.
Yep.
They're not from Rome, but they say that on there, and the recipe's different. So I had to go back to the original purveyors, and it turns out our friends down at Di Pasquale's make a really nice sausage. So I have apparently sausage for life. I'm not going to eat it all, but I had sausage over the weekend. So I was busy making sausage instead of watching tennis, so I could sit and enjoy the Orioles lose over linguine and sausage and proper amici sauce. So that was my Sunday.
Good.
But are you Stanley Cupping right now?
Yes,
are you?
Absolutely.
So you are appointment watching?
Yes. Yes. And Game 3 is coming. Game 1, incredible. Game 2, both games. Edmonton ties it up in the last minute. Game 2 in the final seconds of the game.
There's something about when the game's in Canada too.
Yeah.
That there's just a different level of the national anthems and all of it.
And then who wins the game in double overtime? The King Rat, Brad Marchand. The man was traded. He was the captain, Nestor, the captain of the Boston Bruins. At the deadline, they're going to blow up their team and rebuild in Boston. They get rid of their captain. He's hurt. They send him to Florida. He's rehabbing. He comes back and plays a few games at the end of the year. He's playing all right. Gets into the playoffs, goes off like a crazy man. And he drives the other team nuts. Always has.
Well, he wants the cup.
Not just that. He's an instigator. He's that guy. He's that
Dale Hunter.
The side. Yeah, he's that thorn in the side of every other team. And he gets under their jersey, and he causes penalties. And sure enough, he scored a shorthanded goal in the game, and then he scored the game winner in double overtime, which was a beautiful goal that just slid right through Skinner's legs. And it's 1-1, Florida, Edmonton. Now going to play 2 games, as you said, in 100-degree Florida, where the ice will be freezing cold, the arena will be freezing cold.
And you could do some nice shopping out in Sunrise if you want to go before the game.
There you go. Beautiful area, Sunrise, Florida. They made a city for hockey.
I've always thought that when I went to that rink 25 years ago, the first time I went there, I saw a lot of hockey there because the Orioles trained in Fort Lauderdale.
Yep.
So when it opened in the 90s, that was the rink. But I had seen the Panthers play at the old Miami Arena in downtown Miami,
right?
During the Rat era. That was when Brian Murray, my friend, coached the team, and Doug McClain, my other friend, coached the team. All that. By the way, if you are a hockey fan, we had a wonderful 40-minute conversation with Barry Trotz last week about Baltimore and Nashville and Washington and the Caps and winning the Cup and being a general manager and all of that. So I am still hockey came back to me all over the weekend, and you'll be appreciative of this because this is where hockey, rock and roll, and my love of Canada all kind of come together. The band Triumph. Right. Rick Emmett, who did the show with me about 10 weeks ago before opening day because he lives in Toronto and he's a baseball fan.
Right.
We talked about the Blue Jays and the Orioles.
Got
and we talked
back
about
together.
They not completely. Mike Levine, the bass player, he's 76 years old. He's getting a little older.
Right.
He looks 76. He looks a little older.
Yep.
And he was always sort of the old man in the band. And he always wore hockey jerseys when he played back in the day, famously on stage every night. He didn't go, and people were freaked out. And he wound up doing, I think, Eddie Trunk in Toronto, the rock and roll serious guy, and literally said he had waited 4 months for a doctor's appointment that he had to have that day. It was an important medical appointment.
Yeah, you ain't getting doctors in Canada.
That's what he said. He said in Canada,
socialized medicine. When they can see you, you show up.
He said that's what he said. That's exactly what he said. He said, so I needed a medical appointment that day. That's why I'm not there. My heart's there. Rick Emmett put together a 5-piece band to do what Triumph did, and they went out to Edmonton, and they played in the street. They played a free show in the street. Triumph hasn't played together 3 times in this century.
Yeah, forever.
They did one reunion show. They did one reunion TV taping and a documentary.
Yep.
But they famously kind of don't like each other. Hasn't been a reason to be together in 40 years.
But so Edmonton gave them a reason.
Well, the story apparently is in Canada, the CBC, and I don't know if this is the NHL. You tell me, because you're watching the games and I'm not. They've been using the song "Lay It on the Line." The Triumph song "Lay It on the Line" has been part of the NHL's promotion.
Absolutely.
It's the song, the theme song for the Stanley Cup. So, and Rick Emmett said, I'm watching the playoffs in the second round, and I heard our song. I had no idea they were even using it. And then they called and said, hey, do you guys want to come and play the Stanley Cup Finals if Edmonton wins? He's like,
sure.
Well, we don't have a band. We haven't rehearsed.
I'll be there solo.
I'll figure it out. You know, but we don't have. Well, Rick Emmett had a terrible cancer this time 2 years ago, and his life was in peril. And, so it's a really miraculous thing that they did it. And so to marry that with hockey, and as much as I love rock and roll and love the band Triumph, that got my attention over the weekend. So good job, NHL. You got me back.
And then you got Barry. You got a whole week of hockey.
Did you hear his whole thing about the difference between being a general manager and being a coach?
I've not been able to hear I've heard a bunch. I have not heard the whole thing.
Yeah.
But he's busy. He's nonstop.
I thought he didn't love me anymore. I thought the night
he can't. He doesn't have sleep. The man is.
The last time I saw Trotz. The last time I was, that's not true. I was at his house up in Long Island 2 days before he got fired.
Yeah.
So that was like 2 years and a month ago.
Right.
We stayed at his house and went to see John Mayer at the hockey rink up the Islanders' new rink. The UBS or whatever, where Billy Joel was playing in Belmont, New York. And we stayed at his house. But it was the last time he took the Islanders job. He kept it 3 years. He kept the same phone number. So then he left to go to Nashville, and I started texting him, and I didn't hear back from him for a period of time. And I'm like,
he's a ghost.
I better call his secretary, and he must have cashed his Capitals phone in, or whatever, right? And he answered me. He's like, dude, I've been so tired. I'm so sorry. Let's get together. Let's talk.
Sleep.
We talked last week for 20 minutes just to catch up. He's like, all right, I'm going to do the show when the Stanley Cup Finals are set. Here's the crazy part. We waited until Edmonton and Florida got in to do the segment. We did the segment. We did 42 minutes. I forgot to ask about the Stanley Cup Finals.
Didn't talk about it. Right. Didn't even come up.
He told me Florida in 7. That's what he told me.
That was last year. I think Edmonton in 6, but we'll see. It's been a wild time, and it's been great hockey. If I do know this, I don't know this, but I think I saw this. It's like the lowest rated Stanley Cup final in years and years and years. And I think it's because people are trying to figure out who these teams are that aren't, fans. And it's on TNT, so it's buried somewhere. They got the finals, but good for them. They also got
I wonder out loud, Leonard, what sports is doing.
Tennis.
You know what I mean? Like, I know the NBA has its thing, and they're making a lot of money. They don't have me, but Luke wanted to work early on Sunday night because he wanted to watch the game. Fair enough, right? Like, I'm respectful of anybody's sports thing. If the hockey game were going on now and you wanted to go watch, I'm down. I mean, I canceled most of my life for 56 years. Parenting, love, sex, travel, my family. I didn't go to weddings because of football games and baseball games. I stand a little embarrassed at the end of all of it now that I'm 56 and I'm getting closer to death. I have decided, I'm only going to watch the things I want to watch.
That's right.
If I'm not interested in Carlos Alcatraz or Alcaraz, I don't.
Well,
you know what I mean?
It's funny you say that.
I've given so much of my life to sports. I feel like I want to do some other ish.
Well, I'll tell you. There's a story. If you a lot of them. There's more than more than you can count on both hands. But Wendy's, the fast food place.
Dave, yes.
Yeah,
Hot and
Dave
juicy,
Thomas.
hot and juicy.
Yeah,
Where's the beef? Where's the beef?
Dave's story.
Yeah.
At the end, he said the Wendy's success was the worst thing that ever happened to him. It took his life. It took everything away.
It defined his life, right?
And it took away from weddings and family and things. It became it instead of what matters.
It is amazing. Once you get one Wendy's open, and then you want two, and then you have two, and you want three, and then you have three, and then you want four. And if you have the potential to have 280 of them,
right?
And you're really in the business to put Kentucky Fried Chicken out of business, which was his
hundreds,
and McDonald's. Once you get obsessed with that, that's what we think in America. That's how Trump got elected. That's like we think that shine of more and more gold and more of everything and more locations and more of this. And there's a price to be paid.
There's a price for everything.
For everything.
There's a price for everything. And you got to set your priorities and say, what's my purpose? What's truly important to me? And you hear Barry say it right now. What's important is winning a cup in Nashville and what it takes to do that. And people think it's easy. It ain't easy to have a good team, more or less, to win a championship. And
the Orioles had a good team, and look what happened to them.
Right.
I mean, I'm of the mindset that the Orioles had a good team in the offseason.
Yes.
They did.
Yes, and something happened. Half the guys got sick and hurt, and now they're not. So hopefully they can have some pitching. Look at the pitching. You got one guy that you thought was going to start for the season before the season, Eflin. That was the guy from last year you thought was going to be a starter.
Kramer.
Everybody else.
Kramer.
Oh, right. Kramer's still pitching. I forgot about Kramer. He's still pitching. Dean's still pitching.
Well, we're going to see the Tigers this week. We're going to see Scuba. We're going to see Mize. They can't hit left-handers. Tough.
Yeah. What is with that? What is with not being able to hit a left-handed pitcher?
Well, Gunnar Henderson being more of a poster child right now for struggling with it. Jackson Holiday trying to figure it out at the big league level.
Right.
The imbalance for this particular baseball team, if you want to get into it with the Tigers and the Angels coming in right now.
We'll see what comes. That's it. It's going to be
you mentioned watching tennis because it was the finals. You mentioned watching the Stanley Cup. You'll watch the NBA even if you don't like the NBA because it's the finals. You don't like the NBA.
Nope. So what I will do, it's funny. They got a lot of stars playing in this round. I don't know any of them. I didn't know that this one guy, the MVP, they call him SGA. I don't know his name. Gilgis, I don't know. I couldn't tell you. But what I do know, what I would watch, here's what I would watch. You ready? If it is the potential clinching game, I'll watch the last 10 minutes maybe.
All right.
The NBA for me, Jordan, Magic, Bird, Kobe, Shaq, then it starts to get silly, and I have no interest.
I talked to Todd Radom about this last week. He's my uniform guy. He does logos. He's up in Philadelphia. He writes books on all that. And just how the NBA is unrecognizable to anyone our age because of the colors and the jerseys and the way the game's been it's been marketed away from you and me because I don't recognize it.
Marketed
like I look on the floor
and
I just don't see anything I recognize and nothing that compels me. Hockey keeps moving. Hockey's a better game than basketball. I've been saying that on the air for 35 years. That's not new.
Without question.
That if you put a hockey game on tonight, a Stanley Cup final, there's going to be so much action, hitting, activity. The puck moves fast. It moves so fast that your eye can't follow it in the old world on TV. I can't see the puck on TV. Remember that one 40 years ago? That's never a problem now, especially with angles. The speed is the game in hockey.
And
basketball is living on
follow all of it.
Basketball is living on its street value of being a game everybody has played, and these guys are all big and superhuman and play above the net and shooting 3-point. It's just a different kind of. The women's game is much more attractive to me to watch as a sport.
That either. I'm not watching it.
I like to watch people shoot. Yeah, I do.
I watch basketball. I watch college. I watch the college ball. I like it's a different game. I like watching the
gets over quicker too.
NCAA tournament. Yep. Different game, better. I'm all for it. Pro, I don't know. Just doesn't do it for me.
Leonard, it's funny because with the death of Jim Henneman, I brought all the sports writers together, right?
Yeah.
I saw everybody. I brought people together. like Henneman was known for baseball, but that room of people, the sports writers, everybody in that room wrote about golf, Lefty Driesell, basketball, covered
Yep.
hockey, covered Olympics, covered this, covered that, went here, went
Yeah.
there. Now that I'm older and there's not a sports page and I'm
Right.
not addicted to ESPN for 30 minutes to an
Yeah.
hour a day to
Yeah.
know who won NASCAR this week, that the
Couldn't tell
US
you.
Open is in Pittsburgh this week at Oakmont, that where they're
Yeah.
racing and that the Belmont happened on Saturday and it happened and it
Oh, that
never
was a
made my
great race.
timeline. It
That was a
never
great
made my
race. I
timeline.
watched that
Not
too.
one person in my world shared anything about the Belmont until it was over with and I saw sovereignty beat journalism.
Yeah, I watched that. I watched that too on Saturday. I love the horses. I don't go out to see them, but here's the thing. Again, the big races, I like to watch them, and that's 3 minutes of life. You don't have to watch 4 hours. You watch 3 minutes and it's over. They're off, and sovereignty pulled out a great victory. It's kind of like the tennis.
So it really is like anything else. Commitment of time is the issue.
Yeah, look, you only have, that's the only thing in life, right? The only thing in life, no matter what, once spent is gone. You can
and
spend your money.
Sports is maybe the last thing left in life that happens live that you can engage, not know who's going to win, and bet on it now. Bet on it.
Well, that's something I don't do.
That's the engagement of the world. The engagement of the world is want to bet.
It is amazing. It is amazing to see the industry, the multi-billion. I don't think it's trillion, multi-billion-dollar industry that has become sports betting. It is surreal. I mean, people that don't have money, throwing away money, betting on sports, praying for that hit.
The worst part for me is
such a dopamine hit, gambling, and you get hooked on that. I mean, there's stories about kids in college, getting in whack debt, killing themselves over debt they owe because of gambling.
Well, 800 Gambler is our number. I talk about it all the time. John Martin, it's one of the reasons the lottery sponsors me, is to let people know that, like, this is all online now. It's on the up and up. It used to be with Louis the bookmaker, and he'd come after you with a knife or a gun or five knuckles Louis, if you owed him $100. Now it's so private. It's so unto you. You could have a problem. Nobody would know it. So I talk a lot about this issue because it's a new thing. And there's no question in this country over the last 5 years, there just has to be tragedies tied to this. And I know this as a young male. One time I was a young male.
Yes.
And having this radio station, and for years and years, I would open this up. That's how I found Luke. I would open this up and say, do you want to come in and do sports radio? And all of these kids that came in here, they were all white kids. They were all white male. They were all sported up or thought they were, right? They all had a gambling thing. They all had a little thing about gambling that was never ever the genesis of anything that I love sports about. So I've never understood it. The thing that I never understood, and I employed one of these kids who went to work for another company here in the area who was obsessed with gambling and didn't have a pot to piss in or a window to throw it out. And the amazing part was that he was convinced that he could beat the system.
Of course.
That's the thing. Like, I know more than anyone else. I have an edge. I have an edge.
I have a special formula.
And well, the special formula was all the Brill cream that guys Jim Feist had in their hair. Remember, they used to put all the oil in their hair, and they'd have an 800 number, 900 number in the USA Today. Call my 900 number. A guaranteed locks. I got my 5-star lock of the week.
Slam dunks.
And I met young people all the time in bars in Essex and Dundalk and Middle River who would come over here wanting a job. And I'd say, I can't send you to the Ravens locker room. You're going to be out there trying to shave points from Joe Flacco.
Right.
What's wrong with you?
And
kids, we're not mixing gambling and sports. That's a no-no.
These people have no idea. Everybody likes to speculate and gamble until their house is repoed or their car.
I walked out of a couple casinos in Vegas, lost a couple $100, and that was enough for me.
Right. I don't need to lose anything more than fun.
I haven't gambled in Vegas in as long as you've known me. I mean, in 15 years at least, I haven't gambled in Vegas.
Yeah.
Probably since the 2009 market crash when my life changed.
Yeah, I was there. I was in Vegas 4 months ago, whatever it was before now, with a conference. I was there, and after
I know I don't have an addiction. I walked through there, and I'm not even thinking about betting.
After the conference day ended, 6 of us went over to the club that's right across street from the Vegas Arena,
Okay.
and hung out there, watched the game because we didn't have tickets to go, and it's tough to get a last minute there with 6 guys. So we went to the bar, sports bar. We watched the game. I don't know, 1,000-inch screen. It was huge. It was beautiful. And what was really funny was when Vegas scores, they play that foghorn, that loud foghorn. Well, the game on TV was like 4 seconds behind because the foghorn would go off and then we'd see the goal and we'd know that they scored. It was really funny. But 6 guys sitting around watching the game, having a drink, nobody betting on the game, nobody at the tables, watched the game. It was over, went back, hotel rooms, and that was it. End of the night. And there are people all around, tables everywhere, doing everything. It doesn't appeal to me.
It's funny you'd say that because my dad and I sometimes would leave Memorial Stadium a little early and we'd walk down 33rd Street and you'd hear the roar. Right. And we're like, something good must have happened. Something good like when I lived at Camden, this is my home, right?
Yep.
So I lived in the 23rd floor. This is literally the view I had. And I could be watching a game in bed, and my bed was in this direction. No, actually, my bed was in this direction. I got to get opposite. And I would look out the left side of my arm and see the fireworks getting shot. And I'd see the Tigers pitcher on the mound about to deliver the ball to Nick Markakis. And I'm like, hey, Markakis is about to hit a 3-run homer. Boom, there it goes.
Right.
Because I could see the fireworks already because every time there was a home run, we get fireworks.
That's it.
Especially the end of the game, too. 2 outs in the 9th inning.
Absolutely.
Zach Britton on. You know what I'm saying?
Over.
Boom, boom, boom. I'm like, well, bases are loaded. Britain's going to get an out here. So Leonard Raskin is here. He is Raskin Global. Tell me what you do with money.
That's how you bet. When you've seen it ahead of time.
Well, I've often wondered about that. When you remember the cage used to go down at the racetrack, you catch your fingers.
Right.
The minute the racetrack goes down, the cage would fall.
That's it.
Leonard Raskin manages money. Tell me what you do briefly, and we'll get you back in here next week. We'll probably have a Stanley Cup champion by next week.
Here's hoping. We do not speculate and gamble with your money. We do the exact opposite of that. We show people how to protect their wealth, how to enjoy their wealth, how to grow their wealth, and ultimately how to transfer their wealth. And it's about doing the right things that the financial institutions don't tell you should do. It's tax planning that your accountant doesn't tell you should do. It's estate planning that your lawyer hasn't done. It's all the things that are in the world of earning money and how to do it properly. And I can promise you, gambling on the Stanley Cup Final, the Belmont Stakes, the French Open are not in our purview.
There you go. All right.
There
Love
it is.
Sports.
Love sports.
Put your money in the market. There it is. Leonard Raskin is here. Raskin Global. There are parts of sports I still love, but there is a point where as I get older, I've seen everything, been everywhere.
Yeah.
I want you to go to the French Open. I want you to go to the U.S.
Open.
To that
one. I should go
up to New York. Go up to New York, dude. Do
easy.
that.
Jump
Absolutely.
on a train. I'm there in no time.
I have friends that go every year and they rave about it. They go second, third round. They pick a nice weather day where the weather's going to be good and get on the train and go. Leonard Raskin is here. He'll be going to sports this week. Luke will be at the ballpark all week. Mandatory next week. And on our next program, we'll argue whether the guy making $50 million a year being the quarterback should show up for practice with his teammates. I'm Nestor. Practice. That's an Allen Iverson. We're WNST AM 1570, Towson, Baltimore. We never stop talking. Baltimore positive.